Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking some time out of your lunch to join me today, if you're joining live, and if you're joining me later after this broadcast has been released. Thanks for checking out my talk today. So today I'm talking all about food sensitivities, and we're going to talk about what is a food sensitivity, and we're going to talk about why they're a problem and what sort of problems are caused by food sensitivities. And then most importantly, we're going to talk about how to find food sensitivities. And so I'm really psyched about this because I know that for myself, sometimes I have some food sensitivities in my diet, things that I eat where I feel better when I don't eat them, especially in times of stress. I find food sensitivities in my life show up. And so I wanted to do this talk for you today because I've been seeing this a lot in my practice recently, people with a variety of different concerns, where one of the root causes for them is actually food sensitivities for their health concern. And we work through and eliminate those, and they feel better. And this is something that I've been using for myself in my own life since, oh goodness, well before I became a naturopathic doctor. I think I was 12 the first time that my naturopath put me and members of my family on diets to eliminate food sensitivities. And so this is something that I know a lot about, and I know can really make a big difference in some areas of health, and sometimes not in others. And so we'll get into a little bit about where this can be really helpful for. And so I just want to start by explaining what a food sensitivity even is and what it's not. And so food sensitivities they're not allergies. This isn't a food that you're going to have a really horrible response to eating. It's in terms of having an allergic reaction where you could die. And that's a food allergy, and that's anaphylactic. And a common example of that is a peanut allergy. So a food sensitivity is also different from a food intolerance. So the most common food intolerance is lactose intolerance. And that's because your body doesn't actually make the enzyme required to digest the lactose. And so for this population, or for people that have lactose intolerance, they get symptoms when they consume food with lactose in it, like so dairy products, because of the actual sugar. And so that's different than a food sensitivity. What happens in a food sensitivity is it's your immune system that's responding to the food, but in a delayed immune response. So not in an immediate immune response like an allergic reaction, which is very concerning and life-threatening, a delayed response. And what that means is it's a different type of antibody, and it's different, it takes a different toll on the body. So rather than a sudden emergent condition, the inflammation from this immune response builds up slowly and can cause chronic concerns and things that are a little more insidious and a little harder to find. And so that is the deal with food sensitivities, is it's things that you eat, everyday foods, healthy foods, things that are good for you or that are good for most people, but are not good for you because your body sees that food and tries to fight it off as if it were an infection. And so this is an inflammatory state, and those antibodies don't just stay in the intestines, they move all throughout our bodies. And so and the inflammation that's created in our digestive system has a huge impact on the inflammation in our whole body. And so is that clear? Are there any questions about what a food sensitivity actually is? I'm just going to take a sip of tea here because I know that there's a bit of a delay on the writing. And then we're going to talk about why they're a problem, because I mean, obviously you don't want to have inflammation in your body. But what sort of conditions does this actually cause or contribute to? And it's a lot of different conditions. This contributes to, we're going to start with the obvious, digestive problems. Specifically, there's a lot of research for irritable bowel syndrome, which is something that's hard to treat other ways. And but I can see that with constipation in children and sometimes in adults can be from food sensitivities, as well as heartburn. So any digestive symptom could be related to food sensitivities. Another area where we see a lot of food sensitivities is skin concerns. So the main ones being eczema, but also acne. And this is due to just the inflammation showing up in the skin as well. And when you think of our digestive tract, really that's just kind of skin that goes through the inside of us. And so they have, there's a very strong relationship between our skin and our digestive tract. And so a lot of times in naturopathic medicine, when we talk about healing skin concerns, we actually focus on the gut and the and focus there. And food sensitivities are one of the ways that I do that in practice. Some other issues that can be caused by food sensitivities are pain, specifically migraines, but also arthritis pain, whether that's osteo or rheumatoid arthritis. And so these little molecules, the antibodies, there's actually some research showing that they can go through the body and get stuck in joints and causing joint inflammation. So that's really painful, and definitely want to discover if something that you're eating is causing your joint pain, if you have chronic joint pain, or same with migraine headaches. And because of this inflammation, it's also been linked with some of the negative cardiovascular effects related to obesity, specifically around obesity and atherosclerosis. And so that's fancy medical speak for heart disease. And so this can be helpful. There's not a lot of research for weight loss, but I know a lot of my colleagues find it identification of food sensitivities can really help people release weight as well, due to, we think, an inflammatory mechanism. And so really anything that has an inflammatory process to it could possibly be benefited by eliminating food sensitivities. And so things like other pain disorders, any autoimmune disease, as well as mental health concerns. So anxiety and depression, we're learning that the inflammation in the gut and possibly inflammation in the brain is really harmful to this kind of thing. And so removing those food sensitivities can give a clearer state of mind. So, this affects a lot of different health concerns. So how do we identify these? How do you know what foods, because they could be healthy foods, are causing this, are causing this sort of inflammation that's, making period cramps worse, or causing skin to be worse, or, just really disrupting the digestive system. So in my practice, I have 3 different ways of identifying food sensitivities. I'm going to talk about them all today. The first is a blood test. And so this one is, I mentioned there were antibodies created. The first blood test actually checks for the antibodies in your blood and compares them to like a normal population, and says, like, if you have way more of these, they're called IgG antibodies. And so if you have way more of these for a certain food, then your body's immune system is reacting way more to this food. And so that's one way of doing that. So that test is great for people that like numbers, because it gives you a report showing which foods are normal, which ones are borderline, and which ones are strong sensitivities. And what it lets you do is really have a numerical report as to what your food sensitivities are. I find this is a great starting point. A lot of people are more motivated to stick to a more restricted diet when they have a report in front of them. The downside is the test is the cost. So the test is $250. But it's not the only option. The second way that I have of identifying food sensitivities in my practice is called biolinguistic kinesiology. And this is a way of energetically testing whether your body likes a food or not. So it's definitely not the most scientific approach. It's more of an energetic approach. And I like that one because it gives people an idea of how their body responds to a different food. So it's not restricted just to this IgG mechanism. It's just basically what jives energetically with your body in this moment. So that's a fun one. It's done in office, and that doesn't require any additional fees. We just do it during the visit. And then the third way to identify food sensitivities is the elimination diet. And so this is kind of a neat thing, the elimination diet, because the idea is that you just remove the foods that are most likely going to be causing your concern, and you just take them out of your diet for a period of time, 2 to 3 weeks, and see how you feel. And so, yes, it's a restricted diet, but it's for a temporary period of time where you monitor your symptoms. And during that time, if the foods that you're eating are causing things like pain or digestive upset, those symptoms will go away. And then after the elimination phase comes the reintroduction phase or challenge phase, where you then eat all the foods that you've eliminated one at a time to see how they make you feel. And this is really great for people who are motivated to try a diet, who are looking for some real change, and who love to have firsthand knowledge about themselves. So if you like to experiment with different diets and different programs or different ways of being healthier, this is a fun thing to do, because it's just this, it's just like an experiment that you run on yourself to see, and it gives you a chance to know more about yourself and know what you like and what your body responds well to. And so I have done an elimination diet myself many different times, and I'm gearing up to do another one, and I just wanted to invite you to come along with me on the elimination diet ride. And so I'm going to be starting that this Saturday, and I'm going to be sharing my menus and my shopping lists and everything that I'm eating over in my Facebook group, Nourish Menu Planning by Naturopaths. It's linked from my profile, or my Facebook page. There's you can find that group through there, and you're welcome to come on in, request to join, and I'm going to be sharing all of those resources as I move through this process of the elimination diet. And so I'm going to be eliminating all of the big allergens from my diet. So wheat and gluten, corn, dairy, eggs, and soy are all going, along with everything else that it's good to get a break from. Sometimes it's a little harder on the system. So sugar, processed foods and trans fats, coffee, alcohol. So all those sorts of things are out for the next little while for me, and I'm really excited to do this. This is, like I said, this is a challenge I've done for myself many times, and I'm excited to try this again and see how great I can feel. So I'm starting on Saturday, and you are more than welcome to join. And I hope you do join, because one of the things that's really sad about doing an elimination diet is you can feel kind of lonely, like you're eating differently from everybody else. And so I'm hoping that if a few more people do it with me, it'll be fun. So I've gathered up all of my favorite recipes that are elimination diet friendly from my favorite cookbooks. This is going to be like a family friendly version of the elimination diet. I've got a toddler and I'm not making her special food. So all of this is hopefully going to be just really easy for you to be able to follow along and identify those food sensitivities for yourself. Yeah, so if you have any questions about food sensitivities or about the Elimination Diet Challenge coming up on Saturday, leave the comment below and I will get back to you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your lunch.